You ever wish you could just, like, download knowledge directly into your brain?
Right, like skip the whole slog through a mountain of information and get straight to the core insights.
That's kind of what we're doing today. Well, sorta. We're taking a deep dive into a pretty unexpected spot. We're looking at the acknowledgments section of a book about mass extinction.
Interesting. Yeah, it's easy to just skim past those thank yous.
Totally. But, those little blurbs actually tell a story. Think about it. The acknowledgments are kind of like a secret map to the whole research journey.
Right. They reveal this whole network of experts and the fields they represent. You can even see the specific places and resources that were essential to cracking this whole complex topic of mass extinction.
Exactly. And so our little mission here is to decode that map. I want to pull out those hidden connections and get a grip on just how many people collaborate to understand something as huge as, the extinction of entire species.
It's like a sneak peek behind the curtain of science.
Totally. Like a backstage pass to all the action. And for you, dear listener, this is like a crash course on who the major players are in this field and what different angles they bring to the whole extinction puzzle.
Ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
All right, so the author kicks things off by thanking a bunch of folks who shed light on what's called the amphibian crisis.
Oh, yeah. This list is impressive. We've got Edgardo Griffith, Heidi Ross, Paul Crump, Vance Friedenberg, David Wake, Karen Lips, Joe Mendelson, Erica Bree Rosenblum, and Alan Pessier.
Wow. Right. Like, just hearing all those names tied to one-issue amphibians underscores how serious this current extinction event really is.
It really makes you think about how widespread this is.
Absolutely. And, the striking thing is not just that there's a crisis going on, but how much expertise is needed to even wrap your head around it.
That's so true.
This list, with people who likely specialize in everything from habitat loss to disease, it really shows how multifaceted even a seemingly localized extinction event can be.
Yes.
Then we shift gears a bit. We move into the world of paleontology. Digs, museum visits, actually getting up close and personal with evidence of past extinctions.
I love that. The author thanks Pascal Tassi at the Museum of Natural History in Paris for a special behind-the-scenes tour focusing on the great auk.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it really gets you thinking to see these remnants of a species that's gone.
It's such a tangible connection to the past. It's not just about abstract data points. It's about trying to grasp the story of an entire species that's vanished.
Totally. Then there are shout-outs to Gudmundur Gudmundsson, Rainier Sveinson, and Haldor Armandsson for guiding the author through the great auk's old habitats, and Magnus Bernhardsson for helping with a trip to Eldey, the auk's last refuge.
Wow.
I know, right? This is where it gets really cool. You see this amazing blend of scientific knowledge and what I imagine is incredibly valuable local expertise.
It's not just about analyzing specimens in the lab. It's about understanding the whole ecological context, the
Right.
places where these extinctions actually happened.
Right.
Yeah. Understanding extinction is like piecing together a giant puzzle with pieces from all over the place. Like that trip to Eldey, the last stand of the great auk, probably gave incredible insights into the environmental pressures and the final circumstances of its disappearance.
So fascinating. Next up, we've got Neil Landman. He's thanked for giving access to some Cretaceous sites in New Jersey and for sharing his ammonite collection.
Now that brings us to the big one.
You got it. The end Cretaceous extinction. The one that wiped out the dinosaurs. Well, most of them anyway.
Okay, so we saw with the great auk the importance of understanding what happens to individual species when they go extinct. But now we're talking about a major event.
Right.
The end Cretaceous event was huge. And Neil Landman's ammonite collection gives a glimpse into the incredible diversity that vanished during that die-off.
It really emphasizes the scale. And speaking of massive die-offs, the author then acknowledges Lindy Elkins-Tanton and Andy Knoll for their expertise on the end Permian extinction, sometimes called the Great Dying. Right. And then there are Nick Longrich and Steve DeHaan for their contributions to understanding the end Cretaceous event. It's just amazing to think about, isn't it? The reliance on these leading experts to understand these pivotal moments in Earth's history.
Yeah, this comparative approach is so valuable when you're studying extinction. You study the characteristics and possible causes of these big past events, and then you start to draw connections.
And what do those connections tell us?
Well, it helps us learn crucial lessons that are relevant to the biodiversity challenges we're facing right now. Each of these experts brings a deep understanding of the unique factors that played a role in those specific extinction events.
Right. Okay, next up, there's a special mention for Jan Zalasiewicz. He took the author graptolite hunting, in Scotland, and he's thanked for answering tons of questions.
Graptolite hunting. Sounds fun.
I know. For our listeners who might not be familiar, graptolites are these really interesting extinct colonial creatures. I mean, that just sounds like such a hands-on way to study paleontology.
I love it. It's a fantastic combination. You've got the field work, that actual experience of searching for graptolites, and then you've got the intellectual back and forth answering all those questions.
Exactly.
Think of graptolites as these ancient index fossils. They evolved quickly and were everywhere, so their presence and disappearance in the fossil record can tell us a lot about the pace and scale of past environmental changes and, yep, extinction events. So graptolite hunting isn't just a cool way to say fossil hunting. It's about reading a crucial chapter in Earth's history.
I love that. And speaking of those personal experiences, the acknowledgments also mention a memorable, if wet, expedition with Dan Condon and Ian Millar.
Haha, I feel that. Field research can be unpredictable.
For sure. Then Paul Crutzen gets a shout-out for explaining his concept of the Anthropocene. Now, for our listeners, the Anthropocene is the proposed current geological epoch, defined by the significant impact humans are having on the planet's geology and ecosystems.
Right, basically the age of humans. And, it's not just about our impact, it's about the potential for a whole new wave of extinctions driven by us.
Exactly. So we're talking climate change, habitat destruction, all those human-driven forces.
Precisely. And so when we think about the Anthropocene in the context of all these past mass extinctions, you got to ask, are these forces we're unleashing now operating at a similar speed and scale to what caused those earlier die-offs?
Right. Are we driving a sixth mass extinction?
Exactly. And Crutzen's inclusion here signals that link between ancient history and our trajectory right now. It raises some really profound questions about how we're shaping the planet.
Big questions indeed. Okay, next, the spotlight shifts to the oceans. There were thank yous to Victoria J. Fabry, Ulf Rubsell, Lee Kump, and Mark Pagani.
Ah, yes. These folks are leaders in the research on ocean acidification and what it's doing to marine life.
Right, this cluster of acknowledgments really highlights how crucial the oceans are in this whole extinction story.
Absolutely. Ocean acidification, which is driven by all that extra carbon dioxide we're pumping into the atmosphere, is a major threat to marine ecosystems, especially to organisms that build their shells and skeletons out of calcium carbonate, like corals and shellfish. And those creatures, they form the base of so many marine food webs.
Right, it all comes back to those intricate connections.
Hmm.
And it gets even more vivid when the author thanks Jason Hall Spencer, who took them swimming out to Castello Aragonese, even though it was cold, to answer questions, and then Maria Cristina Buia for arranging that research opportunity.
Yeah.
That's dedication.
Wow. You can really picture that. It wasn't just about crunching numbers in a lab, right? It was about getting immersed in the marine environment. And these experts, they were so generous with their knowledge, even in those conditions.
Exactly. It emphasizes the power of firsthand observation.
Absolutely. Then there's a whole group of thank yous to folks in climate science and marine chemistry. Ken Caldera is mentioned several times, along with his wife Lillian and the team at One Tree. Jack Silverman, Kenny Schneider, Tanya Rivlin, Jen Reifel, and Russell Graham.
And we can't forget Davy Klein, Brad Opdyke, Selena Ward, and Ove Goldberg.
Right. It just goes on. And this really drives home the point. You can't tackle these huge environmental challenges alone. It takes massive collaboration.
Absolutely.
It takes diverse research teams, often working across different institutions and with different specializations. And, the fact that Ken Caldera is mentioned so much suggests he was a key figure in guiding the author through this incredibly complex field.
Right, sort of steering them in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. And that long list of colleagues really underscores how interconnected this research community is.
It's so true. Okay, moving on, we come to regions of incredible biodiversity. Miles Silman gets a shout-out as an extraordinary guide to an extraordinary part of the world, along with his doctoral students, William Farfenrios and Karina Garcia Cabrera. And there are thanks to Chris Thomas as well.
Awesome. This part really highlights the importance of on-the-ground experts, people who have deep, firsthand knowledge of these critical ecosystems, the very places facing the biggest threats.
Right. So Miles Silman and his students, they provided access and insights into a specific and likely highly threatened geographic area. And then Chris Thomas probably contributed a broader perspective on biodiversity patterns and the threats they face in different regions.
Yeah, it's like having both the close-up view and the wide-angle lens.
Exactly. Okay, the acknowledgments then shift to the human element, those very real, present-day threats to biodiversity. Tom Lovejoy, a pioneer in conservation biology, is thanked for his foundational help and encouragement.
Yeah, Lovejoy's inclusion here is significant. His entire career has been about understanding the impact of habitat fragmentation and other human actions on biodiversity.
I see what you mean.
It's that crucial link between the in-depth studies of past extinctions and the urgent conservation challenges we're up against right now.
Absolutely. Then we have, thanks to Mario Cohnhaft, who's an expert guide to the Amazon rainforest, and to Rita Mesquita and Jose Luis Camargo for their work in this crucial ecosystem.
You know, the Amazon is the planet's largest rainforest. It's a cornerstone of global biodiversity.
Absolutely.
And acknowledging these experts, it underscores how vital their work is in understanding and protecting this incredibly diverse and increasingly vulnerable region.
Okay, there are also acknowledgments for researchers studying white nose syndrome in bats, Winifred Frick, Deanne Reeder, and Jonathan Reichard. And the author notes that they shared their knowledge in real time. I know. It really highlights the urgency of this biodiversity crisis.
Right.
White nose syndrome is this devastating disease that's wiping out bat populations at an alarming rate. And these researchers, they're on the front lines, desperately trying to understand and maybe even stop this thing.
It's science happening right as an extinction event unfolds. And the fact that they're sharing their knowledge in real time, that shows the urgency and the incredible collaborative spirit in addressing these emerging threats.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, there are, thanks to Ryan Smith, Susie von Oettingen, and Alyssa Bennett for repeated access to a place called Aeolus. It sounds like an important research site.
Right. And Joe Roman is acknowledged for his expertise on invasive species, another major driver of extinctions around the world.
Right. So these acknowledgments, they point to how important it is to have dedicated long-term research sites for monitoring ecological changes. And they highlight the ongoing work needed to understand and manage the threat of invasive species, which can really wreak havoc on native ecosystems.
Totally. Now, shifting gears to the world of megafauna and extinction rates, we've got Terry Roth and Chris Johnson being thanked for their contributions, and John Alroy gets a special mention for his work on actually quantifying extinction rates, along with Anthony Barnosky.
Okay, so this brings in a crucial quantitative dimension to the whole study of extinction.
Exactly.
Mm.
You know, we need to be able to quantify extinction rates to really understand the scale of the current biodiversity crisis. And those numbers are crucial for developing models that project future trends.
Absolutely. So the work of John Alroy and Anthony Barnosky in this area, it gives us critical data to assess just how severe the situation is and what we need to do to try to conserve what's left.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, then we enter the fascinating world of paleogenetics and ancient DNA. The author thanks Svante Pääbo for explaining this complex field and the groundbreaking Neanderthal Genome Project.
Oh, cool.
Right. And then Shannon McPherron gets a thank you for a tour of La Ferracie, and Ed Green for answering questions. It's incredible what we can learn about extinction now through the lens of ancient DNA.
Oh, it's mind-blowing. Imagine being able to extract genetic information from the remains of extinct animals. It's like time travel for genetics.
Right?
It lets us trace evolutionary relationships, understand how populations changed over time, and even identify potential genetic factors that might have contributed to their extinction.
So cool.
And Svante Pääbo, you know, he's a true pioneer in this revolutionary field. His work is transforming how we understand the past.
Totally. Okay, shifting to conservation efforts, we have thanks to Marlies Hawk, Oliver Ryder, Barbara Durant, and Jenny Malo for their generosity during a visit to San Diego.
Likely connected to their work with specimen banks and other critical conservation initiatives.
Right. These folks are probably involved in vital efforts like biobanking, preserving genetic material from endangered species. It's like a safety net for biodiversity.
Yeah. Right. It gives us options for conservation and maybe even de-extinction research down the road.
Exactly. Okay, the author also acknowledges the crucial role of access to information. They thank the reference librarians at Williams College and Jay Pasachoff for lending his files on the end Cretaceous extinction.
I love that. Even in the digital age, traditional research resources are still so important.
Right.
Science depends on being able to access and synthesize all that existing knowledge. Those dedicated librarians and colleagues who share their resources, they're essential for deep, meaningful research.
So true. There's also mention of a fellowship from the John Simon Guggenheim Memorial Foundation.
Ah, yes, that crucial financial support that makes so much of this research possible.
Right. Funding is the engine of science. And the author also acknowledges support from various institutions.
It takes a village, right? Grants, Institutional backing at all plays a role in allowing scientists to pursue these critical questions about our planet's past and, of course, its future.
And finally, a large chunk of the acknowledgments is devoted to the editorial team and the author's personal support system.
Ah, yes, the unsung heroes.
Exactly. We've got David Remnick and Dorothy Wickenden, thank for their guidance, John Bennett for advice.
Right.
Then there thanks to Rob Kunzig, Jamie Shrees, and Roger Cohn for their help with content for publications like National Geographic and E360,
Hmm.
and then a whole list of friends and family who provided invaluable support throughout the writing process.
This last part really shows you the human side of science, you know. Writing a book, especially about something as complex and important as mass extinction, is a massive undertaking. It takes scientific rigor, for sure, but it also takes strong editorial guidance, logistical support, and the encouragement of those closest to you.
Absolutely. So as we've seen, even just focusing on the acknowledgments, we've uncovered this vast interconnected web of people from an incredible range of fields, from the deep time of paleontology to the very urgent realities of conservation.
I'm exhausted, but
Wow.
in a good way.
Uh-huh. Me
Yeah.
too. It's a powerful reminder that collaboration is at the heart of scientific discovery.
Absolutely. And for you, dear listener, you know, by taking this shortcut through the acknowledgments, you've gained a surprisingly complete picture of who's actively working to understand mass extinction and the different perspectives they bring to this crucial field.
It really makes you think, right? This intricate network of expertise, it mirrors the interconnectedness of our planet's ecosystems, and it highlights the huge challenge we face in trying to understand and hopefully prevent future extinctions. Maybe this deep dive has piqued your curiosity. Maybe you want to learn more about one of the scientists we talked about or a specific extinction event that caught your attention.
Absolutely, I hope so. You know, ultimately, this exploration of just thank you notes, it's given us more than just information. It's given us a sense of the ongoing, collaborative, and truly human effort to understand our planet's history and to protect its future.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.